I never thought I would be thankful for installing security cameras in my home, but life can surprise you in ways you never expect. My name is Maricel, and until last Sunday, I had spent 5 whole years trying to keep peace with my sister-in-law Morwen. I wanted to make everyone in the family happy, especially my husband, Ronan, and our 2 children, Amaris and Zephin. But everything changed in just one moment with one slap and 6 words I will never forget. The sound of the slap echoed across our living room, and everything froze for a moment. My cheek burned from the hit, but what hurt the most was seeing the look on my 7-year-old daughter Amaris's face. Her eyes were wide with shock, and her little body trembled as if she couldn't believe what just happened. Zephin, my 9-year-old son, was standing right next to her. His mouth hung open, and he didn't know what to do. He had been so excited to show everyone his science project that he had worked on for weeks. Now it was lying forgotten on the floor, knocked over by all the chaos. Then came Morwen's words, the ones I will never forget. "You're not even a real mother. You just adopted them." Those words hung in the air like something heavy and poisonous. The family gathering, which was supposed to be full of smiles and laughter to celebrate Zephin's big science fair win, had turned into a scene that no one would ever forget. I could see my mother-in-law Muriel covering her mouth with her hand, shocked at what was happening. My father-in-law Dorian shifted in his chair, looking very uncomfortable. And Ronan, my husband of 8 years, stepped forward with a look of shock that I had never seen on his face before. His eyes were wide, and his mouth was slightly open, as if he couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. But I need to explain how we got to this terrible moment. Ronan and I had tried for many years to have biological children. We went through multiple rounds of IVF, but they never worked. I also had a miscarriage that broke my heart. After all the sadness and disappointment, we decided to adopt. Amaris and Zephin came into our lives 3 years ago. They were siblings who had lost their biological parents in a car accident. From the very first moment I saw them, they felt like mine, not because of blood, but because of love. They were mine by choice, by destiny, by something much deeper than DNA. Morwen, however, never accepted Amaris and Zephin. She made that very clear from the beginning. She showed it in little ways that other people might have ignored, but I noticed every single one. It hurt me, but I noticed because I loved my children and wanted them to feel safe and loved in our family. She made the kids sit at a separate table during family gatherings. She forgot to invite them to her children's birthday parties. She would talk loudly at dinners about genes and family traits, always pointing out that her children got special talents from real family blood. Every time she did something like this, it was like a small cut on my heart, but it kept happening over and over again. I started keeping notes about everything she did, not because I wanted to use them against her, but because I knew someday my children would ask why their aunt treated them differently. I wanted to show them that it wasn't their fault. I wanted them to understand that being part of a family isn't just about blood. It's about love, care, and choosing to protect each other. The security cameras were installed last year after Morwen started coming to our house without telling anyone. She said she just wanted to check on things when Ronan was at work. I didn't tell Ronan about the cameras because I didn't want to start family fights. I kept hoping Morwen would change, that she would see how special Amaris and Zephin were, and that she would understand that love makes a family, not blood. That Sunday started normally. Zephin had won first place in his school science fair. His project was about genetics in plants and how different colored flowers could create new, unexpected colors in their offspring. I thought it was so clever, and I knew he had worked hard for weeks. It was his way of thinking about his own story and about what family really means. He wanted to show that families don't always look the way people expect, and that the love between parents and children is stronger than anything else. But Morwen's face changed. Her smile disappeared, and her expression darkened. I saw it coming, but I couldn't stop what was about to happen. She said to Zephin, "It's cute that you like genetics, but you do understand that you don't have any connection to our family's genes, right? You're not actually related to any of us." Zephin's face fell. He looked shocked and hurt. Amaris, who is always protective of her brother, stepped in front of him. "That's not true. Mom and Dad are our real parents." Morwen laughed, but it was not a warm or happy laugh. It was cold and mean. "Oh, sweetie. They just signed papers. They're not really part of our bloodline." I stepped between Morwen and my children. I looked her straight in the eye. "That's enough," I said softly but firmly. "You don't get to decide what makes a real family." Then it happened. Morwen hit me. Her hand connected with my cheek in a sharp slap. I felt the sting, But what hurt even more were her words. You're not even a real mother. You just adopted them. The room went completely quiet. Amaris started crying, holding her brother's hand. Zephan looked like he might be sick. And I felt something inside me finally snap. 5 years of keeping quiet, protecting everyone else's feelings and documenting everything. It all ended in that moment. I touched my burning cheek and smiled. Since you brought it up, I said calmly, pulling out my phone. I think it's time everyone saw who you really are. Morwen's face changed. First she looked confused, then angry, and then close to scared. She realized at that moment that I had proof of everything. Every time she had come to our house without permission, every cruel word she had said to our children, every moment she thought no one was watching. Maricel, she said, her voice shaking. What are you doing? I looked at my children, then at Ronan. His face showed that he was starting to understand he had missed something important. I'm showing everyone what a real mother does to protect her children, I said. The living room felt smaller as I connected my phone to our smart TV. My hands were steady, even though my heart was racing. 5 years of collected evidence were about to change everything. Mom! Zephan's voice was quiet. Are you okay? I looked at Amaris and Zephan, who were still standing together. I'm fine, sweetheart, I said gently. But I need you both to go upstairs for a little while. Can you do that for me? Amaris tried to protest, but Ronan stepped forward. I'll take them up. He hesitated, then added softly. Maricel, what's going on? Something that should have happened a long time ago, I replied, meeting his eyes. He nodded slowly, understanding. Morwen had recovered some of her composure. Oh, please, she scoffed, though her voice trembled slightly. What could you possibly have to show? Everyone knows how dramatic you can be. The first video started playing. It showed Morwen letting herself into our house 3 months ago when she thought no one was home. She went straight to Zephan's room, rifled through his drawers, and removed family photos from his wall. She muttered, They shouldn't pretend these kids are really part of our family. Moriel gasped. Morwen, you didn't. More videos played. Morwen telling Amaris her artwork wasn't as good as her own daughter's because talent runs in real family. Morwen deliberately excluded Zephan from family photos at last year's Christmas gathering. Morwen told her children not to play with their fake cousins because they weren't really related. Turn it off. Morwen demanded, her face pale. You're twisting everything. I was just trying to protect our family's reputation. Dorian's voice was heavy with disappointment. By sneaking into their home? That's not protecting anyone. I wasn't done. I pulled up text messages next. Screenshots filled the screen. Morwen had been sending messages to other family members, spreading lies about Amaris and Zephan. She said bad things about their genes and suggested that they might become troublemakers, like their real parents. The truth was that Amaris and Zephan's biological parents had been hard-working teachers who died in a car accident. But Morwen had made up a completely different story. There's more, I said quietly. Do you want to see the videos of you telling the kids that Ronan and I would eventually give them back, because that's what happens to adopted children? Or maybe the ones where you coached your children to exclude them at school? Ronan came back downstairs and stood in the doorway. His face was ashen. How long? He asked. How long has this been going on? Since the day we brought them home, I answered. I had started documenting everything after the first year when I realized it wasn't going to stop. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, his voice full of pain. Because she's your sister. Because I hoped she would change. Because I didn't want to force you to choose. I took a deep breath. But today, when she slapped me in front of our children, when she tried to make them feel they weren't really ours, that was the last straw. Moriel stood up suddenly. Morwen, get out of this house. Everyone turned to stare at her. Moriel, who usually tried to keep the peace, was now angry. Mom! Morwen's voice was small and unsure. I said firmly, get out. Moriel's voice shook with anger as she added, right now. Morwen looked around the room, realizing that no one was on her side anymore. She couldn't argue. She couldn't bully anyone. She had been caught, and everyone could see the truth. I watched the videos, but I didn't recognize the person in them. That means the angry woman couldn't be my daughter. The things she said to the kids, my grandchildren, they weren't her real grandchildren. Morwen shouted, They are not your real grandchildren. But no one answered. The room was very quiet. Dorian stood up. Yes, they are. Love makes a family, Morwen. You clearly don't understand that. Ronan spoke quietly but firmly. Get out of my house, and don't come back until you can treat my wife and children with respect. Morwen looked around, trying to find someone to agree with her, but no one did. Her face got red with anger. "Fine," she spat. "Keep pretending to be a family, but don't expect me to play along anymore." She stormed out and slammed the door. The room stayed quiet for a long time. I sat down on the couch, feeling very tired. Ronan came and sat next to me, holding my hand gently. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I didn't see it before. I should have noticed. We all should have noticed." Muriel wiped tears from her eyes. "We let her get away with too much. We made excuses. Maricel, can you ever forgive us?" Before I could answer, I heard little footsteps running down the stairs. Amaris and Zephin came into the room. They had heard everything. "Mom!" Amaris ran and hugged me. "Are you okay? Is Aunt Morwen gone?" Zephin hung back, looking unsure. "Did she mean it when she said we're not real family?" Ronan opened his arms. Zephin walked slowly to him. "No, buddy. She was wrong. You and Amaris are our children. Nothing can change that." Dorian knelt beside them. "You are our grandchildren, and we love you both very much. We are sorry we ever let anyone make you feel otherwise." I held my daughter tight and watched my son lean into his father's hug. I saw love and regret in my in-laws' eyes. The truth was out. It hurt, but it also felt like a big weight was gone. Sometimes a storm clears the air. I didn't know what would happen with Morwen, but I knew one thing. My real family was stronger than ever. In the weeks that followed, many things began to change. The first changes were in Zephin and Amaris. It was like watching flowers bloom after a long winter. They laughed more, played more, and stopped worrying about what might happen at family gatherings. They didn't check over their shoulders anymore, wondering if someone would be mean to them. One evening, while I helped Zephin with his homework, he looked at me and said, "Mom, I'm not scared anymore to show my report cards." He fiddled nervously with his pencil. "Aunt Morwen used to say my good grades didn't count because I wasn't born smart like her kids." My heart hurt when I heard that, but I tried to keep my voice calm. "Your achievements are yours, sweetheart. They come from your hard work. You earned them, and you should feel proud." Zephin smiled, and the confidence in his face made me want to cry. It was such a relief to see him finally feel proud of himself and not afraid to be happy. Amaris also seemed happier. She played with her dolls and with Zephin without worrying about what Morwen would say. She laughed more freely and even helped her friends at school. It was like a heavy cloud had lifted from both of them. The adults in the family began to change too. Muriel and Dorian started to be the grandparents they should have been all along. They came to school events to cheer for the kids, proudly displayed Amaris's artwork in their home, and talked about Zephin's school achievements to anyone who would listen. One Saturday, Muriel came over with several old photo albums. "I've been doing some reorganizing," she said, her voice full of emotion. She opened one album and carefully added new pictures. The older family photos were still there, but now interspersed among them were dozens of pictures of Zephin and Amaris from the past 3 years. "I want everyone who sees these albums to know our family's real story," she explained. "It's not about blood. It's about love." Her hands trembled slightly as she closed the album. I could see she was proud, but also a little sad for the time she had missed with the kids. Ronan had perhaps the biggest change. At first, he felt guilty for not noticing Morwen's mean behavior earlier. He said it made him feel crushed, like he had failed. But then it also gave him a strong determination to do better. "I keep thinking about all the times they must have been hurting, and I didn't see it," he confessed one night after the kids were asleep. "I was so used to making excuses for Morwen. I forgot my first job is to protect our children." I squeezed his hand. "We can't change the past, Ronan, but we are shaping their future." He nodded and pulled out his phone. "I enrolled us all in family therapy," he said. "I chose a counselor who knows a lot about adopted families. I want to make sure we are giving the kids everything they need. And maybe we need help too to process all of this." As for Morwen, she didn't give up quietly. First came angry texts, then tearful voicemails claiming she was the real victim. When those didn't work, she tried to convince other family members to take her side. But the videos had shown everyone exactly who she really was, and no one was willing to excuse her behavior anymore. The final straw came at a family birthday party for one of her nieces. Morwen showed up without being invited and tried to go near Zephin and Amaris. But Muriel stepped firmly between them. "If you can't respect all my grandchildren," she said, "then you need to leave." Morwen left in tears. This time, no one ran after her. Instead, the party went on with games, cake, and genuine laughter. Amaris and Zephin played with their cousins. Morwen's children were not there, but later we learned they had been asking to visit, even though their mother had said no. 3 months after the slap that had changed everything, I was cleaning out our home office when I found my old journal. Inside were my careful notes about Morwen's behavior, pages and pages of worry and sadness. I realized I didn't need them anymore. That evening, we had a family meeting around the dinner table. "I want to show you something," I said, putting the journal in the center. "This book is full of hard memories, but we are not carrying them anymore. What should we do with it?" Amaris thought for a moment. "Can we burn it? Like in those movies where people let go of bad stuff?" Ronan raised an eyebrow. "That sounds a bit dramatic." Zephan grinned. "We could make s'mores too. And that's exactly what we did. In our backyard fire pit, we turned the painful memories into ash while roasting marshmallows and telling stories. Muriel and Dorian joined us, bringing hot chocolate and extra marshmallows. As I watched the pages curl and blacken in the flames, Amaris snuggled into my side. "Mom, are we going to be okay now?" she whispered. I looked around our little circle. My son explained the chemistry of marshmallow roasting to his grandfather. My mother-in-law showed Amaris the secret to the perfect s'more. My husband added another log to the fire and caught my eye with a soft smile. "This is family," I said. "Real, messy, imperfect, but strong. Family is made of love, choice, and the promise to stand up for each other." "Yes, sweetie," I answered, holding Amaris close. "We're already okay. We're better than okay. We're family." The fire crackled, sending sparks into the dark sky like tiny stars. Sometimes the strongest families are made in the hardest times. Ours had become unbreakable. After that night, life went on, but it felt different. The kids were happier and safer. Amaris began to play more games with her friends, without worrying about being judged. Zephan started talking about his dreams for the future. "Mom," he said one afternoon, "I want to be a scientist. I want to invent something that helps people." I smiled, so proud of him. Even family gatherings became brighter. Muriel and Dorian always made sure to include the kids in everything. They asked Amaris to tell stories, and they cheered loudly for Zephan at school performances. It was clear that love, not blood, made them real grandparents. Ronan and I also grew closer. We shared responsibilities more equally and made sure that the kids felt safe and loved. He often stayed up late, helping the kids with homework or reading stories to Amaris when she couldn't sleep. I realized that sometimes the hardest lessons make the strongest bonds. Even Morwen, in the end, couldn't break the family. Her visits stopped. We didn't hear from her much anymore, and when we did, the family was united enough not to be affected. The kids had learned that they were safe and loved, and that was all that mattered. Amaris, Zephan, and I started a small tradition. Every Saturday, we would roast marshmallows in the backyard and talk about our week. We laughed, told stories, and even made plans for adventures. Sometimes Muriel and Dorian joined, sometimes Ronan and I. One evening, while the sparks flew from the fire, Amaris looked up at me and said, "Mom, I like our family. Even if it's messy." I hugged her tightly. "I like it too, sweetie. Messy, happy, and full of love. That's what makes it real." Zephan added, "Yeah. And we're stronger than ever now." I nodded, feeling warm inside. The storm had passed, and our family had grown stronger because of it. We had learned to forgive, to love, and to protect each other. Even though the memories of the past were sometimes sad, we had learned how to turn them into something good. Every fire we lit in the backyard reminded us that we could let go of hurt and focus on love. And so life went on. Amaris and Zephan continued to grow, happy and confident. Muriel and Dorian were proud grandparents. Ronan and I were proud parents. Our family was real, not because of blood, but because of love, choices, and loyalty. The fire pit became our symbol. Every crackle, every spark, reminded us that even in hard times, love could shine brightly. We were stronger than ever. We were happy. We were family. Sometimes I would watch Amaris and Zephan play and remember all the hard times. But then I would smile, knowing that those hard times had made our family unbreakable. And I knew deep down that we could face anything together. Because that's what a family does. It protects, loves, and never gives up on each other. And ours had come through the storm stronger, happier, and more united than ever.